Welcome to another episode of Woman Witness Podcast, The Stories at the Well. I'm your host, Leah Fortier. Here on this platform, we bring to you voices of women who are out there making a positive difference in their community, in their families, and in the lives around them. So today I want to bring to you my special guest, Natima Sheree. She's a founder of the Transparent Gem Inc., and she supports aspiring authors through her organization. She is a New York native, known for her role in the film Fresh, the 1994 film Fresh. And she played the role of Rosie. She is also a mother, influencer, a book enthusiast with the background in human resources and diversity, equity, and inclusion. She excels as a practitioner, a speaker, and a consultant. Natima is committed to helping writers globally share their stories and their talents. She is a co-author of Mascara, Beat Face, Broken Soul, and has been recognized for her contributions in the independent literary scene. Natima hosts a Hustle and Shine podcast, organizes projects such as anthologies, workshops, and leads the Hustle and Shine tour that I cannot wait to hear about. So today, without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce to you my special guest, Natima Sheree. Welcome to the Well, Natima.
Thank you so much. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm well. I am so excited to be here. I am so excited to connect with you and chat with you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for inviting me to your platform and just really making me feel welcome. I enjoyed our discussion prior to and really looking forward to this conversation.
Well, I am so excited to have you on and to find out that you have many talents, and I can't wait for you to share them with us, because that's what it's really all about. It's about bringing who you are to the well, to let women know that they are also filled with many talents and many gifts. Yes. So bringing your gifts to the well and highlighting them is what we aim to do. So, Natima, tell us I know I read a little bit about you, and I promise you, I have a short version and a long version. I just read only the short version. Tell us a little bit about who Natima is.
As shared, my name is Natima Sheree. I am affectionately known as the Queen Pen of Transparent Gem Inc. and the Diamond Writers. Transparent Gem Inc. is a boutique consultancy where I support independent writers and aspiring authors in healing through storytelling. So we're not just publishing stories. There is a practice and an intentional healing process that goes with the release of these stories. In the same way, during the height of our pandemic in 2020, I launched the Diamond Writers, which is a women's writing collective with the same objective. I want to help women to heal and release generational trauma patterns and, broken hearts and just all of the things that we carry through life that weighs us down. Yeah. And we release that through writing and publishing anthologies. We have supported close to 50 women in the Diamond Writers Collective to really just find their liberation and their freedom and forgiveness for themselves and others through their stories. I'm a mom of two. I have two amazing princesses. They are literally my pride and joy. And I am a full-time corporate citizen, as I call it, contributing and paying it forward to those in the DE&I space. I ensure that BIPOC women, Latinx, are getting the opportunities, not just for new careers, but promotion within the tech space. I've been doing that for almost 20 years and so proud of that work as well.
I love that. And that's really where I want to go. And I know that's one of the things that you mentioned that you want to talk about. And I thank you for sharing a little bit about who you are. And I love the work that you were doing. And you said you've been doing it for over 20 years, far before the hype happened and where we really started honing in on mental health. Yes. Healing, but also diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is really where I really want to go today. And so what I want to talk to you about, I want to first start off with saying, one, what was the passion behind getting involved in this space?
You know what? Funny enough, when you are in your own life journey and you are walking with God and just waiting for God to reveal, right? We always talk about the revelation. I had no idea I would end up in DE&I. I honestly knew I wanted a career in HR. I knew that I wanted to be a part of organizations that were impacting business and the way we do business in this country and in North America. But I had no idea what my sweet spot was going to be. I kind of fell into it. I was working for another tech company, early career, and I just noticed a lot of the business practices, specifically around hiring. There was a lot of unconscious bias. There was a lot of elitism, and just these small things that we were
Yeah.
undercutting
Yeah.
BIPOC, Latinx, and women, and hiring the same profile,
Yeah.
white males
Yeah.
from elite institutions and higher ed. And I was just like, okay, this is not okay with me. So I began self-study. Is there a space that works against this? At the time, affirmative action was a driver in corporate America, but we really didn't have the language, or you didn't hear it as often in terms of
Right.
diversity and inclusion. And it later became diversity, equity, and inclusion. But for a long time, it was just D&I.
Right. Okay.
But during that time, companies were treating diversity and inclusion like a compliance checkbox.
Yeah.
It was not the business imperative that it is now. And so I wanted to help move the needle. And I said, okay, what is it going to take? It's going to take more education. So I went back to school and got a master's degree. Just the more I learned, I felt this eruption of passion for this work. It was so like, it was uncontainable. You know, like Jeremiah says, the word is like fire, shut up in my bones. I couldn't hold it. It was too much to contain. I was busting out the seams. Every DE&I event, every conference panel, I had to go, because the more information I had, the more equipped I was to really fight within my organization. And so that's how my passion grew.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so powerful. That is definitely powerful. And I do believe that it's important. And I agree with you. I remember being in these spaces and being in management, and I was in the banking industry for many years. And you're right. I found, too, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? And yes, these are very important topics that, like you said, they weren't popular, if you will. Like you said, we didn't have the language for it. So I'm glad that we have people that are out there who are passionate about it, that are in the right positions, in the right spaces. So I want you to talk to me a little bit about, I want to go back because I think it's important. I know I really want to focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. First, I want to start off talking to you about what the wellness and the healing, because I do think that's important, especially if you want to put yourself in a place where, one, you can help someone else, but you first have to be able to help yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I want to take it back a step, and I want to ask you, tell me the meaning of healing. What is the concept of healing? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, that's such a powerful question. And it's so loaded, and there's so much I can say, but for my own journey, I'll personalize this response and this meaning in defining it. For me, healing was coming into a place of wholeness, not perfectionism, which I thought healing really meant. I thought, and the healing we hear about in church and the healing we hear about in our communities, I always associated that with being perfect and doing everything right and never being wounded and then, enough life experiences, enough heartbreak, enough setbacks and disappointments, it redirected my thought process, which redefined healing for me. Healing really is understanding where you have voids and gaps, where there is broken pieces, and knowing that only God can heal them. He's the only balm that can be used to truly heal us holistically. I was using more clothes and fashion and going out and friends and dating. I was trying to fill all these voids and these gaps in my life, thinking that it was going to build me up and make me a bigger, better, healthier person. I was in the gym all the time, and I was eating all the food, trying all the diets, all the things. It wasn't until I ran completely toward God that I started to see a lot of the trauma that was suppressed and subdued start to not only surface, but dissipate, just go away. And I don't mean that I didn't do any work, because faith without works is dead. God requires us to do the work. We had to cultivate something. But I kept trying to do it without God. And I was like, there's no such thing as healing without the healer. So that was healing for me, coming to know God for myself and allowing him to point out the broken pieces and then start to mend. So
Yeah, that is so powerful because, like you said, we have this idea and this concept of what healing means. And I like to be the first one to say, and I want to talk to you about this. I don't want to talk too much on it because your area. I like to be the first one to say, and I hear a lot of people, they say, I did the work. Right. I went to this counselor. I went to that counselor. I did the work. So now all of a sudden I'm healed. Right.
Right.
And this is what I thought for a very long time. I mean, I had my past trauma and my past abuse and all the things that I carried around with me, and I did the work. But I want you to talk to us about, and you just touched on a little bit, but I want you to talk to us about the steps.
The process.
And you talked about whole and overall healing, but what does that really look like if I say I did all the steps? Now where am I at?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. So healing is not a destination. It is indeed a journey. It's someplace that we are constantly working to get through, not to. And that's something I always tell my writers. Your goal is to get through it, not to it. Because if you're looking to arrive somewhere, you'll feel empty when you arrive at that milestone and realize there's still more work to do. Healing is such an ongoing life event. We always talk about life learners and life earners. We have to be life healers. Like we have to come, because you're always going to come up against something that scars you or breaks you or hurts or wounds you. And so healing is continuous. One of the most important things I tell my writers in particular, when you are in the healing process, don't compartmentalize your pain. It's okay to feel it all at one time. We try to think our way through things, we try to do things to get through things. And oftentimes God is waiting for us to feel it. Our emotions are a huge part of our spirituality, or we wouldn't have been designed that way. And so when we begin to heal ourselves emotionally and we begin to fix the broken things emotionally, it uncovers what's hurting mentally. It uncovers what's hurting energetically or even physically. I recognize a lot of my physical pain was really emotions, the weight of emotion that I wouldn't allow myself to release, that I wouldn't allow myself to feel. And so I want to encourage not just the listeners here, but anybody who might come across this interview, allow yourself to go through the process as it goes through the process. There is no way to get through it. You can't force a step. There's not enough, therapist sessions, conferences, books to read. Because, honey, I was trying it all. I was trying to consume. The more I know, the more I'm going to heal. And the more I pray and the more I cry, and it takes all of it. It takes all of it, because like anything, there's going to be multiple stages. If you think about pregnancy, the gestational periods we go through. My first trimester, I didn't have the pains, the desires, the feelings, the emotions, the hormones. I didn't have any of that I had in my second trimester or in my third. And so healing is the same way. It's every time you uncover something and every time you overcome something, it may reveal something else. And that's okay. And that's the first thing I want people to understand. It's okay to hurt, because sometimes healing hurts more than the wound. Our healing hurt more than the scar. It hurt more than the trauma. I was like, this hurts. But when you get on the other side of it, you're going to know why you went through it. I promise.
That was so good. Okay, so obviously pay attention, ladies, and I say this all the time. This is so important especially when we begin to seek coaching, to seek mentorship, to seek if you want to start writing your book or even start working through some of this trauma that we carry around. It's important to get to know your coach, get to know the group that you are joining, the environment that you're walking into, because one, I can hear even from you, Natima, you had to go through it yourself. You said it. Yes. And when you are working with someone who has gone through it, you know that you are in good hands. And I love what you said, that healing is a journey. It's not a destination.
It is. It's a process. It is a process. It is. Yeah.
That is so powerful, because I feel like sometimes, so often we do sit in what we think it should be. And I love the analogy of using the pregnancy, because I can tell you right now, my pregnancies was not the same, all three of them. I want you to talk to me a little bit about the power of storytelling and the emotional wellness through journaling.
Mhm. Mhm.
And can you tell us about these two concepts and how they are interconnected?
Absolutely. Journaling, again, as you mentioned, it is hard to lead people where you've never been. And journaling was a huge outlet for me. Growing up, I was audible, but I didn't have a voice, if you get what I mean. Like no one heard me. What I thought, what I felt, what I needed, what I wanted was ignored to the point where I felt invisible. And so I can speak to respond to someone, but I didn't know how to speak up for myself and share how I was feeling about something. And so journaling became my outlet. It became my release. And little do we know, God always works things out for our good. And so here I am thinking journaling is just for me to have someone to talk to, me talking to me having conversations with me about me. I thought that's what journaling was, but little did I know I was releasing things without permission. I was just releasing things. And
Mm.
honestly, it taught me, a really valuable lesson that I use to this day is I learned to dump on paper and not on people. Because sometimes we're angry and we're frustrated. And so we snap at our husband or our children or our friends, not realizing they had nothing to do with that. They didn't contribute to that emotion. Get it
Yeah.
on paper. And it allows you to process your thoughts. You could go back and read it, and it allows you to process your thoughts. Now you're ready for conversation because you got all the ugly stuff off. Because
Mm.
sometimes we feel like we can't be ugly. No, be ugly. Just be ugly on paper, not on
Yeah.
people. And so I always tell people when you're in the healing journey, sometimes you don't know what to say. And so a writing prompt or a journal prompt would allow you to reflect. It'll
Yeah.
prompt you to kind of recollect your own feelings about something. And next thing you know, you're writing and you're releasing. That is what I constantly tell my writers, write to release. If for no other reason, just write to get it off of you, write it to get it out of your heart. The overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Some of us don't gotta change our mouths. You need to change our heart. It's too much in there. You know how we say, I'm gonna stop cursing. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop using profane language. That's just malice and anger and pain in your heart. That's why it's coming out in profanity. That's why it's coming out in vulgar statements and you popping off. Because really you hurting. That's hurting there. You get what I'm saying? So
Oh, yes.
I say
Absolutely.
just journal, just write it out. Even if you don't know what to say, write that. I don't know what to say. I don't know how I feel. And the last thing I want to say about journaling and why it's so powerful in our healing journeys, I could go back and read journal entries from a year ago. I don't even recognize that woman no more. I am such a better woman. I am such a stronger woman, a more, you know what I'm saying? I'm using
Oh, that's
no
true.
as a complete sentence. I'm taking care of myself. Okay, no. Natima a year ago had a self-love crisis. Like I was going through some real. I read that and I'm like, you are so not her.
Not her. Not
Ooh.
her. I love that.
So yeah.
Natima, I love that. Hold on. And you're right. And you know what I've learned? I do the same thing. Sometimes I look at these journals, I'm like, girl, whoo. But then what I what
Yeah.
I had to do was I had to stop judging that girl. And I still have my old diaries. And I have to forgive that. Not forget that. Don't hold that. I have no more judgment on that girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with that little girl, and I was able to, give her a hug and say, it's not your fault. You are stronger. Look at you now, and I want you to talk about that because I feel like I may not even be using the right language for that. So talk to us about that.
No, that was perfect. What you just said was perfect. I have a really good friend who did a workshop called Heal the Inner Girl and the Woman Will Emerge. And
Mm.
that resonated with me. And I went home and I said, let me begin writing letters to that little girl, to that teenage girl, to the girl in her 20s, to the young lady in her 30s, to the
Yeah.
girl last year. Let
Yeah.
me talk to her. And like you said, I do owe her some apologies. Not
Yes.
in a judgmental way, but it's fair to say, you know what, I didn't do you right. I didn't consider you. I didn't have the best self-talk.
Mm.
And that was a lesson for me. If I may just insert this,
Please.
one of the greatest lessons that I learned in my healing journey was to watch every word that comes out of my mouth. Everything we confess is a mantra. It's an affirmation. And we are the first ones to hear every word that comes out of our own mouth. And
100%.
so what you speak, you're planting seed. You're sowing seed back in you. And so when you start to see the fruit of that, why am I frustrated? Why do I feel insecure? You spoke those things.
Yeah.
And so again, the journaling helped me to put all that mean, nasty stuff on paper. Throw it away if I want to, burn it if I want to, just don't speak it out of my mouth. Don't manifest those feelings and those emotions. And so, like you said, when I go back and reflect on Natima from 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, I don't have any judgment for her, but I have grace for her.
Great.
And then I have gratitude that we're not there anymore. You know, I think we owe it to ourselves to review and reflect on our own growth and then give God glory that we are, and I mean the small things. We always think it got to be, you know, the grand gestures.
Yes.
God to move in a mighty way. Like we need God to send our husband, or we need God to, you know, buy us a new mansion. No. And God has taught you how to say no. I celebrated that because I didn't know how to say no to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll stretch myself to please you, and then I'm left empty. Sure.
Yeah.
I'll go above and beyond for you, but can't call on you when I'm in need. You bet. But now I'm like, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm going to now serve from the overflow, not till my cup is empty. I'm going to pour my cup first, and then you get the overflow. And that was growth for me. And I said, God, thank you for healing me in that way, because really that desire to people please is neediness. You know what I mean? Absolutely. To say no is because we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid nobody's going to like us no more if we're saying no. And so being able to say no healed that wound in me that was like, you don't need people to like you. You like you. That's enough.
That's enough.
That's enough. So yeah.
Natima, hold on. You said so many amazing things and great points. One, no is a complete sentence. And I struggled there for too long.
Yeah.
For too long. And you're right. I don't think I've ever thought about it as far as completely putting together the people pleasing and being afraid of rejection. That is so huge. And that's that trauma. That is that trauma. I know I've been there. And I still at times I still want to people please, but I've found that I have so much more time on my hands. I feel better about myself when I say no as a complete sentence.
That part.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That was good. Ladies, please start practicing it, right? We got it, and it's a practice. I mean, I can tell you it didn't happen overnight for me, but you got to start. You know, you got to start. I guess to be honest with you, let me tell you this. I started by telling myself no. You know, I did.
Yep.
And after I started telling myself no, I didn't, I was like, okay, I can get through it.
Yeah.
I started with a little fast, and I wasn't doing it to lose weight. I was doing it for inner healing. I was doing it, because I wanted to deepen my connection on a spiritual level. And so I began to start telling myself no and giving it to God and letting him lead me. And then I realized if I can tell myself no, it became easier to tell other people no.
That's it. That's the formula. That's the cheat code right there.
There it is. There it is. It ain't just about turning down a donut, baby. Okay. Okay, so we talked about that. Thank you for sharing and some fascinating tips. I want to move on to our second topic, our topic that we touched on a little bit, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And can I just ask you a question?
Sure.
You said that they recently added the equity. Can you break it down for us, please, for those who may not know? Because I know I get a lot of my friends, and I know there's a lot of listeners who may not really know the concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
And
That's why
that's okay.
that's why we're
Exactly. Absolutely. So it's been a few years now, but earlier in my career, it was just D&I. That's all you
okay.
heard. Diversity, inclusion. Diversity meant the diversity of the workforce or the community or the culture, whichever it is you want to refer to. And diversity not just points out physical diversity, where most of our minds will go.
Right.
Majority of us immediately think race, gender, religion. Beyond physical diversity, there's also diversity in thought. There's generational diversity, learning diversity, right? And so we had to be mindful of all of those things that make us different, which is really what that diversity word means. Inclusion meant, despite your differences, we need to cultivate a culture that makes you feel like you want to be here, that makes you feel seen. We want to ensure that there's representation, and we want to ensure that you feel like a part of this community or this culture or organization or what have you. When diversity and inclusion evolved and you started to see the word equity in there, that meant that organizations are now responsible for making equitable decisions, making sure that there's equal pay for men and women, right? That's a huge fight. That's an ongoing fight and debate. We see all the time the disparity and the pay gaps between men and women doing the exact same job with the exact same education.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get on my soapbox today, but that's where that piece equity came in. We want to make sure that we are holding organizations accountable for their decisions when it comes to not just equal pay, but promotion, when it comes to respect, making sure that women are being heard and have a seat at the table the same way men do, that BIPOC professionals do, and Latinx, and LGBTQIA+, and all the different, pillars of diversity. Another one that we've added and really emphasized now is belonging. And it really does go along with inclusion, but it takes it even a step further. It is the job and the responsibility of an organization, corporate responsibility, to make sure employees feel like they belong in these organizations that they work for. And so when you think of it holistically and you tie all of that together, really, what are we saying? Make sure that people are respected. Make sure that they are not pigeonholed because of differences. And I don't just mean physical diversity, but all diversity. Making sure that organizations are mindful of the statements that are being made on the behalf of executives and C-suite members. You can't go and tweet something about, George Floyd in your own opinion and think you're going to be protected. No, you have to consider everybody on the receiving end of your statement. Those are some of the things that DE&I now are responsible for, making sure that we're holding political figures, not even just organization leaders, but political figures and civil servants, that they are mindful of the things that they say. You can have all the opinions you want at home, offline, where nobody can see or hear you. But the minute you make a public statement or a public tweet, or you post a reel that is for, public consumption, you now have to be responsible for what you said. And so that's where a lot of our DE&I practices are coming in. It's not policing the people. It's more so not allowing them to escape accountability anymore. And that's why I love what I do. I don't need to police you, but I am going to hold you accountable. So.
No, I love that. And that's actually what I really want to talk to you about, because I want you to talk to me about this is a platform for women. So I want to talk about, not only being able to hold people accountable, even hold yourself accountable, right? We have to hold ourselves accountable first, for DE&I, not only in the workplace, but also at home. Because it's like you just said, it's still a concern. It's something that we have to start practicing even in our own homes. And just maybe perhaps if we begin to teach our children and we begin to show diversity, equity, and inclusion in our own homes and in our communities, and whether you're volunteering at a school, or whether you're volunteering on a sports team, or whatever you're doing, these things still matter. And it's important when we start at home. Maybe when we get in the workplace, it won't be as hard for you. So can you talk to some of the moms or some of the women who maybe, or even men who may be listening, and they are stay at home and they say, well, that doesn't really apply to me because I'm not in the workplace.
Yes, absolutely. So one thing I want to say, I have 2 points. You raised such a great concern that a lot of people do take on the mindset that, oh, I don't work in corporate, or I don't work in those settings, so this really doesn't apply. But diversity, inclusion, and belonging and equity is something that we're all responsible for, and not just because we want the benefits of it, right? We want to be able to step into an organization and be treated fairly and to be respected and to receive, fair compensation and all of the things. But we want to make sure that we're doing it for others. We want to make sure that we have been taught the significance and the importance of it so that we do it for other people. And the reason I say that is I was at a conference, a women's conference for women in sales. And I'm sure that is a predominantly white male industry. Regardless of the vertical or the sector, it is majority white men in a sales role. And so this organization is really dedicated to helping more women and BIPOC women to get into sales roles and have success. I was sitting during one of the presentations or the panel, workshops. The exact same story was said by every woman, that for so long they were the only woman or the only Black woman in their organization. And that broke my heart, because that tells me that we're not doing our part in diversity. And what I mean by that is we have those stigmas, and our parents and grandparents, and to no fault of theirs, they lived in a different time than us. So they had to have this mindset. But they teach you, look out for yourself, build your own career, worry about you, and go on with your life. We're not teaching people that when you make it to the top, it's okay to send the elevator back down. It's okay to pull that other sister up behind you. It's okay to champion someone else. That is our responsibility in diversity, because how else are we going to get the representation if we want to be the only one in the space? We can't do it. And so that's where our responsibility and our obligation to one another is, okay, if you know that there's a role and your sister friend, whether she your line sister or your girl from church or your favorite nail tech friend, she could do the job, you need to refer her. Absolutely. And we need more of that. That's how we're going to build more inclusivity. Because last point I'll make, I was talking to a couple of folks. I was doing a survey, and I said, why don't you like working at certain organizations or in certain teams? There's no representation. I don't see myself. And we don't know the significance of just seeing another Black woman will empower other women to apply, because you know what you're telling them, you could do this too. I'm here, you could be here. So that's why we have to do the work to say, who's next? Who can I help out? Whose son or daughter can I make sure get an intern with my company? Because representation matters. So that's the last point I wanted to make on that, because clearly I'm going on about this.
No, and that's good, and I'm glad that you pointed that out, and that's important. I think it's very important. You're right. I do think it's a mindset. I do think it's something that we've always known, and I know it. A lot of us don't speak about it, and I know I did it. I kind of went in the job, and I was like, oh, there's a spot open. And I hate to say that, but it's true. It's true. And this is why, we have these conversations, and this is why we're moving towards, making a difference. And I think that it's important that we not only make a difference in our workplace, but, within ourselves, and have these conversations amongst our friends and have them amongst ourselves. I mean, for me, I love the fact that, that we are all different, but when we all focus on, what did you say? You said focus on each other.
Each other. Yeah.
Each other.
Yeah.
And it's not just, about, focusing on, yourself, but focus on, bringing someone else along with you, seeing another sister in Christ, seeing another
Yes.
mom, seeing, and just saying, hey, let's just come together, and
Mhm.
we can all make space for everyone. Imagine if we can build our own platform or
Right.
our own space.
Mhm.
And then
Exactly.
we can still bring everybody with us. You don't have to watch from afar either. Okay, for some of the women who are at home
Mhm.
and maybe they are even starting their own business, talk to me or talk to them a little bit about how they can begin those thoughts of diversity, equity, and inclusion, even in their homes, and maybe PTA, or how can they have those conversations? It's not
Yes.
easy to have.
Yeah. That's a really, really great question. I think sometimes we do discount, entrepreneurs and work from home moms or stay at home moms, that there's no way for them to contribute to moving the needle. And there really is some ways that you can do that. First of all, if you are a business owner, I encourage you to file your business as a WMBE. If you are a women owned, Black owned, or BIPOC now is what we refer to as business, go ahead and get that WMBE certification, because one thing, it really will help you with grants and government contract if that's something that you're interested in doing in terms of work.
Mm.
But it also establishes you as a diversity organization, as an organization that's identified as a diversity organization. And so that's something I would encourage. There's MBE filing, and then WMBE obviously is for women. A way that you can really help contribute to the impact of DE&I or the work in that space is making sure that you have representation in your own team,
Yeah.
whether that's your vendors, your
Yeah.
suppliers. Make sure that you're supporting Black owned, women owned, Latinx, that you're supporting those that would fall under that diversity bucket, if you will. That's
Yeah.
a great way for you to give back and contribute. Also, as requested, if you're in a PTA or an organization in school, make sure that you have speakers that you invite to talk to the children that look like them. Bring people that look like them to talk to them about careers and about their future and about their education. I think sometimes we don't realize how much our children watch what we do and emulate it. Children do what you do, not what you say do. And so if we're constantly pushing the same careers in front of them, and we're not exposing them that yes, there are Black engineers and there are Black mechanical engineers, there are Black doctors and Black lawyers and attorneys. If all they see are Black athletes and Black rappers and Black entertainers,
Correct.
that's going to box them in, because they're going to think this is the space that I belong in. This is where I'm supposed to go. But when you start to expose them and show them representation in different industries and different professions and different occupations, that opens their mind. Like my daughter, when she's 7, I go, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? Her list has like 40 things on it, because she knows there is Black women in those spaces.
Love it.
Whereas when I asked my oldest, who's 15, when she was the same age, what do you want to do? Her list was maybe 5 or 6, because she didn't see as much diversity in those spaces. So that's a really great way that we can ensure, through our PTA, volunteering, through our community outreach and advocacy work, that we are putting that representation in front of those that we influence. That is a really great way to give back in that space.
Wow, Natima, that is so good. I didn't even think about a lot of those, and you have to, for those who are listening, probably including to myself, you have to send me those websites.
Yes.
Because I do know that a lot of women are business owners, small business owners. And, I get a lot of people always asking me about, hey, how can I get a grant? How can I do this? How can I do that? These are very important topics. And it's something important that you need to file. And I'm not going to try to remember say it one more time,
WMBE and MBE. So
Okay.
it's 2 different. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. You got to send it to me so I can put it in the description. Thank you
Of
so much for
course.
sharing that. Okay. I
You're
want to talk to you
welcome.
about another point here. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, but so I want to talk to you. Okay, we highlighted the significance of both the DEI in both the homes and also workplaces. But before we wrap up, I want you to give us some practical tips for our listeners, anyone who is listening to this right now, and how to incorporate when our storytelling, our journaling, and our lives from an emotional wellness standpoint to championing diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, I'm gonna stop because
no, that's fine. That's fine. And so
answer the question for you. So
yeah, no, that's good. I hope I unpack this the way I'm hearing it. So please feel free to jump in and
okay,
my response. But the first thing I want to acknowledge is how we can some best practices and some practical application for getting involved in diversity. And then I'll tie it to how our own wellness journeys can contribute to diversity. So
correct, and contributed into storytelling.
Into storytelling. Sorry, yes.
Yes. Okay.
So if you are a part of any organization, it is likely if they have more than 500 employees, they're going to have ERGs, which are employee resource groups. The employee resource groups are normally a part of your diversity and equity and inclusion initiatives. It is normally a part of, your DE&I overall corporate strategy. So make sure that you join those ERGs. Not only is it great for networking, right? Because you get to meet all different people who have similar background, not exact backgrounds, but similar backgrounds, similar interests as you. So I encourage you to, participate in some of the activities, the events that they have. A lot of the doors that opened in my career for me were because of the connections I made in my local ERG. So that's the first thing that I would encourage you. And like I said, if you work from home, they usually will have like meetups that are diversity focused. And so that's the alternative to not having an ERG within an organization. There's a app called Meetup that have very similar organizations set up. The way that diversity can be a part of our storytelling and a part of our healing journey is we need more Black stories in the market. I tell people all the time, they ask, well, why did you get into publishing and why this? I wanted to sponsor and endorse more Black stories. Yeah. I recognize the significance of a young girl reading about my struggle growing up in Jamaica, Queens, but going on to attend a private university and then earning all of these degrees when teachers and educators kept telling me I would never be more than a statistic, that I would be a teen mom, that I'd be a drug addict, because that was my environment. That was what I saw in the 10 block radius where I grew up. And reading books and reading stories of other Black women, I said, I don't have to be what you said I'll be. I can be what they are. I can be a publisher, a reader, a writer, a speaker, an influencer. And so that's why us doing our healing work will free us to tell our stories authentically, with transparency. And it really does take confidence, because you have to be okay with what you say about you. When you tell your truth, no one can weaponize it. No one can say, oh, well, you went through this. I know. I'm telling you I went through it, but I became a better person. And the more Black stories we offer to the market, to the communities, to colleges, and universities, the more we're going to see that representation grow in a number of verticals and a number of industries and fields, because people are going to be empowered by your story. They're going to be empowered that you started your own business when everybody told you couldn't, that you overcame certain things in life that people said you wouldn't. That is where we can bridge the gap between diversity and storytelling and healing. So I hope that answers your question.
You nailed it. Natima. And that is, oh my gosh, everything you said was so, so, so important. And being able to recognize and see ourselves for the group and the generations coming up behind us. It is so important. That kind of ties in with your whole message that you've been given today. And as far as, turning around and pulling the next sister up and pulling us all up so we can grow together. That's what it's really all about. And you did such a fantastic job answering that question. You nailed it. My next question about tips. I want you to tell us. I went on your page and I love your page, by the way. I love your website, love everything. But I want you to talk to us a little bit about it's the diamonds, the gems, the gems
The
So
Diamond Writers.
yes, diamond writers. I went
Yeah.
through and I seen everybody had their own profile, and I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. Can you talk to some of our
Mhm.
listeners who are listening? They may
Yeah.
perhaps want to become a diamond writer. How do I follow you and become one a diamond writer?
Yes. Oh, I love this question. I love to talk about my community and the women that my tribe, as I call it, the women that God has blessed me with. So, to become a diamond writer, we do have a process because
Mhm.
one of the things I'm very clear on is we are a safe space and a marketplace ministry. We are not a girl group or a gang. We're not a social club. We
Yeah,
truly are doing ministry in the marketplace. And so I'm very careful who I allow in that space because you
yeah.
have to keep it sacred. It really is an ICU for women healing. And you know, in the ICU,
Mhm.
you got to wear a mask, you got to be protected. They don't let everybody in and out. And
Yeah,
so I treat this space the same way. I'm very protective over who is allowed in the space. But we do accept everyone's application. I do have one-on-one conversations to get to know you, to know your story, and to really hear what it is you want to share and why. Because we're not just about healing, but we're cultivating a sisterhood that is sustainable and long lasting. You know, these women have really been through a lot. They've been really hurt. They've been hurt by girls. I have one young lady who she was
Mhm.
hurt by the mean girls. And so she was very standoffish at first coming into the community. She didn't want to work with us. She just, I mean, work with others. She only wanted to work with me. And now having,
Mhm.
broken down those walls and those barriers and restored her trust, honey, she friends with everybody in the group now,
I love that.
Thank you. So if you visit our website, diamondwriters.com, there's a lot of information about who we are, what we do,
Yeah.
what our standards are. We call the diamond standard, how we govern our
Mhm.
lives. We are not a perfect space. I want to be very transparent about that. We are not perfect people. We don't
We're
want
not
to be
perfect.
perfect. We
Right.
just want to
Right.
heal. We just
Right.
want to be better. We just want to be whole. And you can also find us on Instagram. We do have an active page on Instagram at Diamond Writers. You know, we're constantly posting encouragement, journaling, best practices. We're really big on journaling. We also curate a series of events. We offer free journaling workshops. We do offer some other live events where you can come in for networking, for shopping. We have something
But
called
yes.
gym class. That's what I think you were referring to, gym class.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. See that.
Goodness.
Mhm.
And gym class is a live workshop that we do. We bring in professionals and speakers and influencers from different industries, and we just have them pour into our gyms, as we call them. That's just a little bit about the Diamond Writers. You can learn so much more on our website. We would love to have you visit and ask as many questions as you want. We have someone that responds all day, every day. So,
I love that. I really love. I want you guys to really go and check out. I went to
yeah,
Natima's website and I couldn't get off. I was like, oh my gosh, she is doing some amazing things. So please go and check out the website. One more question.
yeah.
Now, if I'm looking to join, do I have to
Mhm.
already be a published author,
No.
or through your process, would or will become a published author?
That is such a great question. Thank you. I don't know why I didn't even think to say that, but no, you do not have to be an experienced writer. You do not have to be a published author. You just have to have a story, and we all have a story. You have to be willing to do the work because it's not just writing and then we publish. No, there's an entire process.
Yeah.
We do homework, we do assignments. There's all types of character building and healing sessions. We have professionals come in and speak. So there's so much work that we do that by the time you do publish, we are ready to help you develop your author brand. And even some of us become speakers. A lot of my writers are now speaking on platforms that they thought they would never speak on because of the work that they've done in the Diamond Writers. So,
Let's
yeah.
go, Natima. And that is what it's all about. I love it. So if I
Mhm.
hear you saying you will enter this if you want to become, or if you think you can't, if you think this is an avenue for you, fill out an application
That's it.
and wait the process and see that you will too take that journey, the
Yeah,
journey towards healing.
it's
So
such a
I love it so, so, so much. I love what you're doing. And of course, I have a million questions, but I can send those to you. They will put them in the description. And if you guys have any questions, pop it in down below. And Natima will definitely answer, or if I can answer it, I definitely will. Or just
yeah.
take a look at the website. Natima, I want you to tell us where we can find your books.
Okay. Awesome. So we are on Amazon.com.
Okay.
You can do a search for my name, Natima Sheree, and all of our titles will come up, even some of my independent work. So I've done several books with the Writing Collective, but then I've also done a few independent projects. So you can find them all there. We are also have a Sparkle Shop on our website that you can go to at diamondwriters.com and click on Sparkle Shop. You'll see all of the books there as well as some of the independent work of other diamonds. So many of my diamonds who have contributed to an anthology went on to do an independent project as well. And we celebrate that and we promote them. And then we're also Target.com, BarnesandNobles.com, Walmart.com. So you can find our books anywhere, but we would love for you to buy them directly from us so that we can autograph those for you and send you some love. We always send like a special gift or something with your purchase. So we would love for you to do that on our website.
Oh, I love it. And then two, where can we find your podcast at?
Yeah, so Hustle and Shine podcast usually premieres live every Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock. We stream live from Facebook, from YouTube, and now from Instagram. And you can catch our replays on YouTube and Spotify. And that is Hustle and Shine.
Nice. Just tell us a little bit about the topics you talk about.
Wow. So everything that we do, I love it. No, I love these questions. You get me so excited. I'm like, calm down, Tima, calm down. Everything that we do points back to healing. So everything that we discuss really is tailored around your healing journey. So of course we talk about love and relationships. We talk about career, education, children, co-parenting, divorce. We really do touch every topic. Nothing is off limits as long as it points back to how can you heal if these have been your experiences. We really want to see women whole. Our audience is about 88% women. And that's what we want. It's not to say that our men and our gentlemen, as we call them, our gents, cannot receive or appreciate our content. But I'm really dedicated and called to empower women and to help women to heal, because I don't think we realize how much we carry, decade after decade, and how much we're missing out on God's best because we're so busy struggling with what's hurting us instead of running to the one that can heal us. And so I feel like even if it's one listener on Hustle and Shine, one person that said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do better at this. I'm going to put myself first. I'm going to recognize what traumas I've been holding on to, what traumas I'm passing down, to my children. Then I'm pleased. I'm like, God, I don't need a huge platform. If you want to expand my territory, go for it. But if there's one,
just one,
who said, I started my healing journey because of something Natima said, then it is well.
Job well done.
Yeah.
Yes, Natima, I love what you're doing, and I love everything that you stand for, and I love your mission and your concept. And I definitely think, ladies, if you are listening, check Natima out. Follow her on social media. We'll leave it down in the description. Natima, before I let you go, I want you to give our listeners something positive to take away with them.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay. Let me think of just one thing, because I'm like a million things. One thing that I want to say is that give yourself permission to heal.
Yeah.
When I started my healing journey, God told me that I would be a permission slip for other women. And you have to give yourself the permission to heal and then be the permission slip for other women to heal. It's okay. It's a beautiful process. It's a painful process, but you will be better for it. And so make sure that you prioritize your healing and your wholeness and let God be the greatest resource for you. I love the conferences. I love the books. I love the podcasts and the platforms. But if you are trying to do this without God, you will stay broken. So that is what I hope to say. I hope that's okay to say.
Oh, no. That is perfect, Natima. Perfect. Thank you so much for coming and pouring into our guests, pouring into me. I was truly blessed by this conversation. And again, like I told you at the beginning, I probably got through maybe 3 questions that I had. So I already know that what was said needed to be said. And ladies, if you were listening out there, you were blessed by it. We ask that you share it. We ask that you follow Natima on her social media. We ask that you listen to her Hustle and Shine podcast on Wednesdays. I will be chiming in and listening as well. You really came and you poured into us today. And I will tell you one thing that I am taking away that you said. I took away a lot of things, but that healing process is a journey. We're taking a journey. We're not arriving at a destination. So start that journey. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter, if you did the work, if you think you can do the work, if you're doubting yourself, just start. It's a journey, and it's a journey that you're going to be on for a very long time. And that's okay.
That's okay.
Did I say that right, Natima?
You said that perfectly. You said it perfectly. That was perfect.
Thank you, Natima, for being my guest today. Thank you so much for coming again and pouring at this well. I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, who are listening. And we thank you for tuning in and learning something. We thank you for sharing and also subscribing. If you think that you have a story that you want to tell, or that you want to share, or if you think you want to write a story, contact us at info@womanwitness.com. That's info@womanwitness.com. We will put you in contact with the right people who can help you write your story, your truth. So perhaps you were chosen for such a time as this to tell your story, your truth. Until next time, bye. Thanks, Natima.
Thank you.